welcome to the Sunrise Safari. My name is Brent Smith. I have Bryan and Jeandre on camera, and we're following a spotted hyena. So, welcome to SafariLIVE. This spotted hyena is basically came jogging past us, and there were some monkey alarm calls. And thank you, Lucy and Indiana, for that update in this general vicinity. And he might be going, that hyena might be going to inspect what those monkeys were alarm calling at, but at the same time, he's maneuvering through our camp. No, naughty hyena. Naughty. Bad hyena. He's going into the DRC where everyone lives. This is quite funny. We'll see if he comes out the gate on the other side or he decides to steal something. And he's just taking a shortcut. He's going to come out of the gate. There he is. So, normally those gates are closed at night, but they are opened during the morning when we take the vehicles out. So, you know, having a sniff. He's sniffing behind Steph's room at the moment. So for those of you who might be a new viewer, we literally live in the middle of the bush. And the animals often come through and around. Unfortunately, there's nowhere to go where he's going. So James and Jamie are out on tracking team, so they're checking down that area. Maybe they'll get some luck. And Sam is also out and about with the Jeandre. And of course, the team wouldn't be finished without the tech department and a final control in the final control. And that is Connor and Kirsten and Geraldine this morning. And it is a nippy 17 degrees Celsius. And I can't for the life of me remember the Fahrenheit, Bryan. No. No, we're not sure. Just think for a second. Thank you. It's 62 Fahrenheit. So a nice balmy day for a lot of our northern hemisphere viewers. Absolutely slightly chilly and unpleasant for us boys from the warm part of the world. Now, there is a possibility that that hyena we've been following might just be meandering his way home towards the hyena den. And let's go see if there's anything happening there.
Welcome to SafariLIVE today. I've just been told that you are with Brent, with another hyena. As you can see, we are with another hyena at the hyena den. My name is Sam Chevalier. Behind the camera is Jeandre. Hello, Jeandre. We are in the Sabi Sands, the northeastern side of the country. It's a beautiful morning. There's some clouds in the sky. Still a bit of a chilly note to everything. We've got Kirsten behind us, the director, and we've got a fantastic, hopefully a fantastic day lying ahead of you. Me and Jeandre have set out some intentions to look at the hyena and see if some of the cubs... Ooh, as I said that, we had some action coming out of the den. Did you see it go out there? So it's been a fantastic morning of hyena already. And I know someone was interested in having a look at the hyena den last night. So here we are, and we're going to see what is going on this part of the world. You can tell that this is a youngster. He's just walking behind the grasses there. You can hear the sound of that oriole. Oh, wow. It's my favorite time of day in the morning because the birds come out and they have such incredible calls. As we sit here with the hyena, I can hear the black-headed oriole making that noise, and I still haven't seen it on camera, but I think I can see it. So when Jeandre comes out of this shot, we'll be able to have a look at the birds that are on top of the tree, just over there. And it's, is that the black-headed oriole? I think it is, everyone. We have spotted the black-headed oriole. Thank you, Jeandre. It is my favorite bird of all time, purely because of that beautiful liquid sound that it has. Let's try and listen for it one more time. Listen out for that liquid call of the black-headed oriole. Ooh, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in my bird book. Please make another call for us, Mr. Black-headed oriole, or Mrs. All right, so we had an interesting morning, or afternoon yesterday. We got the pied wagtail, and we wrote down the saddle-billed stork. I don't know if you guys are all with me during that, but what are the other birds that are in there? Sheep, is there lots of other birds? Okay, so we've just lost the black-headed oriole. I just want to write that down quickly. From what I saw in the tree, there were some magpie shrikes. Black-headed oriole. Written down, noted. We are now on, I think it's number 12. But have a look at this female. She's very, very tired, but you can definitely see that she's a female. She could be the matriarch of this clan. She's big. Oh, she is a big female. But let's go back to Brent and see what Brent's up to with the elephants. We'll see you now.
Look at this. Isn't this just the best way to start a morning? A lovely breeding herd of elephants with a little one who still hasn't quite mastered the use of his trunk yet. Morning, Orbs. There's a nice clump of windlove on the southern end of quarantine. There were some monkeys alarming around Vulture. I think James and Jamie following up there. Mnisi Kai active with one Mnisi. And that's it for this morning. Sorry about that, folks. Just chatting to Aubrey. I'll be with you guys 1 second. Copy, Orbs. The Ngalo at Sibambili Mati last night. There was still a lot of bands at the end of drive, so there was no general direction on them yet. Ooh. And now that is a very small Ellie, a couple of months, maybe a month or two old, and it's not often you get to see an elephant of that size, and just behind it is a monster. Line them up, the big and the small. So we have a massive adult elephant bull in the background. In his prime, weighing in at about 6,500 kilograms. And in front of us, we have a little Ellie at the start of his life, weighing in at about 120 kilograms. So there's been an incredible amount of musk bulls around, so which means, and all the musk bulls are actually very big animals, so the dominant bulls. So that means there's probably quite a few females and estrus at the moment. So who knows, maybe we have got the chance to see elephants mating. Yesterday afternoon I saw 5 different musk bulls, all massive individuals. And yes, you too, little man, will one day be a massive individual, not quite there yet. Oh. What are you doing? Testing out that trunk. Cheryl just says it's amazing to her. Oh, Bryan. Right behind you, and we have been surrounded. Oh, off the little female goes. But she was literally giving Bryan a sniff from about 3 feet. And then she goes off to the sunrise. She's heading east. Now, Cheryl's just saying it amazes her that the little guys never get stood on by the big ones. I think they probably do every now and then, but very gently. And I think the elephants have incredible spatial awareness to be able to avoid that. Let's maneuver ourselves a little bit quickly. We're going to move through to the next little road, so I'm just going to pop around the corner. Hopefully we'll also get that big boy walking straight towards us. Now, it's very important to keep your movements nice and calm and slow, specifically at this time of year when there are a lot of these big musk bulls. So the herds can be a little bit testy with all the musk bulls around, so we do have to just be a little bit more cautious. But as you can see, the body language from these elephants is showing us absolutely that they are completely fine in our presence. Wait for me, Mom. And it is amazing. These little Ellies are just so curious. They want to explore, figure out how to use their trunk, smelling, sniffing everything, trying to pick everything up. Let's just try and have a look at that big boy now. Magnificent. And there's that very big boy and your friend's coming behind us again, Bryan. And Natasha's wondering, how long do bulls stay in must for? Oh, what's the matter? What's the matter? Behave yourself. Oh yes, you're very scary. There we go. So the rest of the herd's moving off, and the big boy is just slowly coming through. And Natasha's wondering about these big boys. How long do they stay in must for? It can be as long as a month, and sometimes a little bit longer. And also, you'll find that all the really big dominant bulls will come into must at the same time. And that can change during different periods, but it's generally where when the most female elephants are in estrus. The younger, smaller bulls will come into must when the least females are in estrus. This, of course, helps them not compete with a behemoth like this guy. It's just something so incredible about these boys. And he does have a lovely set of ivory, as Anna Marie has just commented, saying, look at them, they're so beautiful. They are, and he's got really nice thick ones. For a bit, I thought he might be the same Ellie we saw at the beginning of the sunset drive a few days ago, but I think his ivory's a little bit shorter. Still very thick. It's still a very impressive elephant. So, of course, when these bulls are in must, they have a heightened hormonal level, and they can be quite aggressive. And Chris Rogue's wondering, if you got too close to that little one, would the females intervene? It depends on how he approached Chris, and sometimes they would by just sort of escorting the baby away. Other times I've seen these big bulls sniff and almost very gently play with the baby. It's almost impossible to say whether he's the dad, though, and females will mate with multiple of these must bulls when they're in estrus. He's gonna see if he walks up closer to us. If he does, definitely enjoy it. No, he's gonna stop for a snack. So Sam has got some of the other smaller creatures at play.
Oh, wow. These hyenas are literally giving me the best time. Look at the size of those jaws. Wow. Hyenas are known to have the strongest jaws out in the bush. They can really rip into carcasses. They can break down bones. Have a look at the size of those. Yo, amazing. So they've just been playing. They're all getting a little bit more active now. They're starting to move around. The youngsters have been jumping and playing around on the tree. It was hilarious. And Jeandre, that was a fantastic. It was fantastic watching that one jump. Hopefully it'll come up and do that again. But you can see, look at that body, the body shape of a hyena. It's very distinctive. It almost looks like they have like longish necks and just shorter bodies. They almost have quite an awkward looking body. But they can travel such far distances. We just saw this female that we are looking at now. She got up and she started smelling around her, and that was so interesting to witness, just because what they'll do in that situation is they actually smell to see if there's anything out there that's close by that they can go and catch, or they can go and feed on. And they can, as I said just now, they can travel a very, very far distance just to find that. So that was very cool to watch. But have a look at the little youngster. He's back on the tree. So it was the same tree that he was sitting on just now, and he was just jumping around on the branch. Oh. Hyenas really provide such a lot when viewing them, especially youngsters, because they're very playful. I'll never forget, on my interview drive, I watched two hyenas playing in the water. I don't know if you guys all remember that, but that was a very special time. And you can see he's putting his mouth onto that bark. That probably help strengthen his jaw muscles and get that growing. You can see that they're very active with their jaws. Look at them playing. It's their most powerful form of defense, those jaws. So you can imagine from a young age, they're growing up and they're just trying to develop that and strengthen it so that they can become more dominant. Look. Oh. You can hear the sound of a ground hornbill around us. I'm just going to keep quiet and see if you can hear that. It is a little bit far away, but that is the sound of a ground hornbill. Andy and Julia in LA are asking me, what are the largest animal that a hyena can take down? It's a great question. You know, hyenas are very, very strong when they're on their social groups. And then they can get up to packs, it's like groups of like something like 30 when they go out on looking for food. So they become a lot more powerful when they're out together. If they were on their own, they would only really try with smaller ones. But wow, look at them play. Oh, this is incredible. See them playing with those jaws, it's great. But the question was, you know, what is the biggest that they would take down? And you know, they would probably go for pretty much anything out there in the bush, dependent on what the condition of that animal was. So, of course, with a hippo or an elephant, that would be almost too big most of the time for hyenas, as you can see that they're not very large animals, hyenas. But if they come across a very weak-looking young elephant that's been injured by something else, they'll take on that opportunity to go in a group and kill that. So it's always a possibility, but most of the time they'll go out and see if they can find kills. They're scavengers, much like vultures. They'll go out and look for kills that leopards have made or cheetahs have made, and they'll chase them off the kill, and then they'll kill that carrion. So that answers that. Hopefully we get to see that one day, where we can watch a hyena come to a leopard, and the leopard has to run up the tree, and all the hyenas are underneath the tree. But look at these guys playing with that stick. It's fantastic. Wow, that's my stick. Both of them. But she might be the matriarch of this clan. The social structure of hyenas is that the female is on top of the order. But while we just sit here watching these hyenas playing with this stick, it's fantastic. We're going to see what Brent is up to with an elephant bull.
So this big boy has moved very close to us. Just have to keep very still. And he is absolutely massive. He's probably about 4 meters at the shoulder. Hey, big man. So he's moved away from that breeding herd. Probably because there's no females, and he's just the only really old enough female to mate. They already had a young baby. So he's going to head off in search of more females. And you can see how he's tracking the scent along the ground, smelling dung, smelling where the other elephants have gone. A gentle, old gentleman. So he's a nice, big, mature bull. Probably around 40 years old, which is what Corin and Joanne were wondering. So we're going to let him move on to track the ladies, and we're going to go try to track a lady of our own. We're going to go see if the queen has come back to Juba. While we look for a spotted cat, let's look for a spotted animal that is in a family all of its own. So back to Sam and the hyenas.
The youngsters are still going at it. They are still playing next to the tree. You can still see they've got their jaws in that twig. Yes, and that's going to strengthen his jaw. The two others are playing over there. This is great. They're also playing with a stick. It's quite interesting to see them, but all of them playing with a stick. You can imagine that they've only been on the planet for so long, and they're just starting to understand their bodies and to understand what they have, and they're starting to realize how powerful their jaws really are. And they're playing with each other. We've said this before. Play is such an important part of our lives, and it helps us grow, and especially out here in the bush, you'll see with many, many different animals that they'll play, and this will help them get better at predating animals when it comes to different, like leopard cubs will often play with each other and pounce on each other, and lions will also do that within their social groups, and that helps them develop the skill that they need in order to pounce and do all those things. So what we're seeing here, very relative to the hyena, is their jaws. That seems to be the one thing that we are watching here. The scientific name of a hyena is Crocuta crocuta. And this particular species is called the spotted hyena. So you get two types of hyenas here, in Africa, that I've seen at least, and one here in the Sabi Sands, which is the spotted hyena. You also get the brown hyena. So I'll show you in the book after we watch these guys play a little bit longer, the difference between a spotted and a brown hyena. Now they're all going on one twig. While the mother sits, it's a beautiful picture that, the three youngsters and the mother just in front. This tree's getting at her. Oh. And you can see how their bodies are so adapted to all sorts of things. For running far distances. As I said, they'll smell something and they'll run a very far distance until they get to it. It's an incredible thing to see when you watch a hyena, like just smell a kill that is about, could be up to 20, sometimes 20 kilometers away, I've heard. And they can follow that scent all the way to the kill. And sometimes they'll use vultures as a key signal. So they'll see the vultures, and hyenas and vultures are known as territory consumers. So they are right on top of that food chain. And they're very important because they actually provide hygiene. They're basically the sanitizers of the bush, looking after the bushveld, making sure that there's no spread of disease. Oof, you can hear that black-headed oriole again. You can hear the rainbird. It's the sound there, that beautiful liquid call. The youngsters are still having a great time on that tree. The mother is sleeping. The birds are in the trees. Fantastic morning out here in the Sabi Sands. Roger is asking, are they related to dogs? Because they can be easily mistaken for looking similar to that of a dog. Well, Roger, that is something that I thought when I first came out here and learned about these animals. That was the first thing that I went to, is that they're related to the dogs. But they're actually not. They're more related to the feline species. So when we talk about, pups and cubs, we wouldn't call these pups, we'd call them cubs, as they're part of the feline family. So it's really interesting. When you look at that face and you look at even the body structure, you would think it's a dog, but these hyenas are coming from that family. I used to get so confused. I used to be like, what? Why are we calling them a cub? It's a pup. No, Sam, it's not a pup. It's a cub. There we go, look at him play. Thank you, Roger, for that question. It helps me. I used to just battle with it. Just looking at them now, I still kind of battle with it. Oh, look at it. Brenda in Virginia is saying, what type of branch is it that these youngsters are chewing on? And is it the tannins that are helping it with their teething that they're going through from a young age? It's a very interesting point. Thank you, Brenda. It's something that I'm not aware of hyenas trying to get tannins onto their gums in order to help with their teething process. Did you know anything of that, Jeandre? No, I wasn't sure of that. The type of tree there is a bush willow. I don't think there's tannins in the bush willow. So with tannins, you'll get that with the silver cluster leaf, very, very prominent in the silver cluster leaf. And a tambuati will have a latex. Those are the two plants that I know animals that will go to in order to kind of self-medicate themselves, but I've never... Oh, did you hear that? That was a black-crowned tragorer. Hold on, I'll let you... That one. I used to learn it sounded like a old or a drunk man walking down the street, here, whistling. Yeah, you do very, very strange things when you're trying to learn all the different bird calls out in the bush. Like with the orange-breasted shrike, used to say, coffee, tea, or me. Doesn't make sense, but coffee, tea, or me is the way in which I learnt it. But thanks for that question, but I'm actually going to look it up and see if they do that. Sandy in Toronto is asking, with this weather change, do you think that they're going to become more active and playful as it's a lot cooler? Yes, Sandy, I definitely think that. I think now that we're going into winter, the mornings are going to be a lot cooler. And ooh. Wow, what is going on? Did you hear that awesome call, everyone? Jeepers. Did you hear that? That was a very significant call. That is of the hyena. I wonder where they went. Let's see if we can find them. I'm gonna move it a little closer. But Sandy in Toronto, I definitely think that as it gets a little bit cooler, we're going to be finding a lot more of the hyenas in the mornings and the evenings as they'll be a little bit more active. But I don't know if you remember on my drive, you know, when it started raining, I did that rain dance, which I will do one day again. I really enjoy that. I know Jeandre wants to do a rain dance with me. He's shaking his head. He's saying yes. And we came out the next day, and there the hyenas were. Sandy, it was incredible. And they were just playing with each other in the watering hole. And the rain made a big difference. So you can see that the coolness got them excited. Kirsty, please can you go back with that question again? I didn't quite catch it. Nancy's asking, what is the grass with the white tuft that we can see all over this tree, this termite mound? Have a look at it. James and I were actually looking at yesterday, and he taught it to me. It's well, not yesterday, the day before. Yesterday, it's called feather-top chloris. Have a look at that. You'll often find them on termite mounds, and why termite mounds are so incredible because they're incredible in the sense they're very ecological. So a termite mound brings in a lot of seeds. It brings in a whole bunch of different things because of the termites. The termites, of course, will come here with different fungus, of course. They're fungus-growing termites, and they grow food at the bottom. They bring all types of seeds to this area. So the soil here is very rich and fertile. And with that fertile soil comes grass that is easier and well-grown. So a lot of animals like to feed on around termite mounds. You'll often find that they'll be like grazed, or looks like it's just grazed around the termite mound. So often you'll find very, very nice grasses that grow here, but they are beautiful. They feather-top chloris. Have a look at that. So you'll often find, what else do you find on top of termite mounds? We can talk more about termite mounds if you guys think, or if you're interested in it, please hashtag SafariLIVE or questions at WildEarth TV. What do you know about a termite mound? And we can talk a little bit more about it. And I've got many, many stories that I've had just because of being a termite mound. If you go tracking in the bushveld and you're looking in the bush, bushveld just means a woody, woody combretum area. And if you go tracking around there and you go out onto termite mounds, you can step and have a look and see what's in the distance. It's actually really important in terms of becoming more aware of what's around you. You get up on top of a termite mound and you can see into the distance. If there are any hippos out or something, it's always good to be careful out here. But I must say, you also must be careful of snakes. I'll never forget climbing a termite mound one day and a black mamba came crawling underneath. And it just wasn't very fun to watch that, I must say. It's very scary, but it looks like there's a little bit more activity. There, hyenas goes. Natasha in Ontario is asking, are the youngsters still teething? It's a very good question. Are they still teething? No, to my knowledge, they'll stop teething within 2 to 3 months, but they could very well still be, and that's probably why they're actually going onto that branch and starting to chew the branch and to help them with their teething process. To my knowledge, the hyenas will chew, and for 2 to 3 months, as they come out of that period with the mothers, and they'll start, chewing. I often saw with youngsters when I was at Londolozi how they would use their jaws to chew on things to try to get that. I never thought of it as a teething process, though. Just thought of it that they're trying to strengthen their jaws. I never saw it from a teething point of view. That's a very interesting question, Natasha, from Ontario. If you have a more detailed description on what's going on with hyenas and in terms of their teething process, please fill us in. Hashtag SafariLIVE. Great to get your input this morning. It's a fantastic morning out here in the Sabi Sands. I'm going to see if we can get into another position. Some birds flying around ahead of us there. Looks like starlings are flying around that knobthorn tree. Wow. Sometimes I really wish I could fly. Just watching birds fly, I get very, very jealous. Have a look at the youngster. The youngster's back. Hello, little guy. Look at the hair that stands on their back. And the dots all around them. It actually helps them blend into this thicket, into these areas when they go running into the bushfire. Actually, it looks quite similar to that, with the hair of a cheetah. I don't know if you've ever seen cheetah cubs, but cheetah cubs grow a huge mane just behind their head. That helps them blend into the grass around them. So this could be a very, very similar thing that they have, their adaptation that they have to just kind of camouflage themselves. Look at that, you can kind of see the top of their hair, at the back of their head there. There we go. This is awesome. Well, everyone, it's been a fantastic morning with the hyenas. We're going to see they're most likely going to be active for a couple more minutes, so we'll just sit for a minute or two to see if they get up to anything, because they're running around here like crazy. So I'm going to park my vehicle in another position, see if they come one more time, and then we're going to head off and see if we can see some other spots. But while we do that, let's go and see what Brent's up to.
So we're on the southern edge of our traverse, checking very carefully for the Queen's tracks. And this is the area she has been crossing into Jeandre quite frequently. So slow down, doing the snail walk at the moment, very, very slowly. Don't want to miss the track. Still quite nippy. Fingers crossed we get a nice fresh imprint in the soft sand at the side of the road. And if we get no luck or no joy, I think it's time I headed to the far east. Not to China, no, to Cheetah Cutline, and maybe see if Mr. Jeandre has decided to come for a visit. Also, I feel like I haven't been down there for a while. Nice to go follow up, have a check, just make sure everything's still in order. Has one of the Queen's favourite crossing spots. Lots of elephant tracks, wildebeest tracks, hyena tracks. Welcome to the Lone Star State, and Geraldine, we'd like to know, are there caracal in the Sabi Sands and any chance of spotting one? There are, Ellie, but I've only ever seen caracal once. I did get a report that a caracal was seen not like 3 nights ago on Arathusa. It's the first one seen in about 4 years, so they are there. The reason we don't see them that often is that they don't live in very high densities, and they are quite shy and retiring. So there's always a chance, Ellie, but it is a small one. And I would actually dance a jig in front of the vehicle if we happen to see a caracal, because and Bryan would join me in the jig, because it would mean I was one more animal closer on completing the carnivore quest that I've set myself. Very important to just check very carefully around these road junctions. You'll often walk straight down that road out of Little Gowrie. The last I heard, she did have a kill, but a small one in Little Gowrie yesterday. Thank you, Anna Marie. Anna Marie says when the killer bees are together, something is bound to happen. And Bryan, are we feeling that killer bee magic today?
Every day.
Every day. That's the right answer. Oh, here we go. Traffic coming past. Morning, Jeandre. How are you this morning? I'm full of joy.
Why?
Because I'm always full of joy. How's everything going?
It's good, yeah.
Oh, we're on the TV, folks.
This time don't zoom right in on my face, please,
Right on your
Bryan.
face, I'm right there.
So, as a lot of our viewers know, Jeandre was an avid SafariLIVE viewer.
Yeah.
Now look at her.
Also
She's
got Sophia
driving around in the bush.
Yeah.
This
Quite
guy's been
scary.
watching you for 3 months.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Come on, this trip.
fantastic. Welcome.
Are you Bryan?
That's Bryan, yes.
All right, Bryan. Do excellent work, man.
Thank you.
Jeandre's blushing. Look, everyone, her cheeks going red on camera.
I want to see the color of your cheeks.
Okay, I'm going to head off to look for Tingana down in the East Valley, somewhere around there.
Oh, is it? What,
Yeah.
your side?
Torchwood somewhere.
Oh, cool.
I heard update from CP guys.
Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah.
Also, you might want to look at, I told Mike to check for Hyenas.
Yeah. We unfortunately have repeater issues down there at the moment. So,
We
yeah.
haven't
Oh,
run
that
into
sucks for you.
Yeah, you did.
Sucks for you.
2 days ago.
Okay, guys.
All right, bye.
Cheers, good luck. Enjoy your drive. Jeandre, don't get lost. Quite busy this morning, and we've checked for tracks, nothing there. Let's just go do a gander past the treehouse waterhole on our movement towards the east. I don't know about you guys, but I quite enjoyed that. Bryan is still chuckling away. So there we go. So there's a SafariLIVE viewer taking a safari, or an ex-SafariLIVE viewer, she now gets to see it in real life, with some avid SafariLIVE fans on the back. So it is possible to come visit these wonderful areas, and it is always exciting to see some of the animals you see on the live safaris in person. Now let's go have a look around Treehouse. Now there's just elephant tracks everywhere at the moment, and in all my years in and out of the Sabi Sands, I've never seen this many elephants. Now there is quite a simple explanation. 1 second, sorry. Yeah, it's an old track. And with Kruger changing some of their waterhole policies and actually doing the correct thing, what has happened is it's forcing a lot of the animals to spread further than they used to. So our buffalo populations increased, and our elephant populations increased, and come the drier months, we'll be seeing a lot more zebra and wildebeest as they move to and from the Kruger into the Sabi Sands. Now, this is very, very good. It takes pressure off certain areas and moves it on at different times of the year. And that is how things should be working out here in the bush. While we continue our mission towards the far east, let's go see what Sam's up to.
A big elephant bull, everyone. Have a look at them eating on some bark just there. That's a great sighting of being able to do that. What you can see he's doing is actually rolling that twig, well, not twig, it's much bigger branch, and he's rolling it in his mouth, and he's taking off all the green vegetation, the leaves that would be on it, and then he'll drop that branch on the ground and then move towards the next one. Most likely to be a bush willow, but he also really enjoys the round leaf teak. He loves the round leaf teak, and he'll strip that one and eat all the vegetation. But what we can also clearly see here is that it's a bull in musk. You can see that because there is some, or you can see those markings down the side of his face that are coming out. There, that's a clear sign that's a bull in musk, and you have to be very aware of bulls and musks because their temperament and their hormone levels are quite jumpy, so they can get angry quite quickly. So myself and Jeandre are going to be very careful here. Any sign of unease, we're going to leave him be while he eats that nice branch. Jeepers. Have a look at those horns, beautiful horn, nice big trunk. Incredible looking Ellie bull out here. this morning. It's been a great morning so far with the hyenas, now with this big Ellie bull. I reckon he's most likely going to be feeding, and he's going to move towards the watering hole a little bit later. Clayton is asking, what is the difference between an Asian and an African savanna elephant? It's a very, very, very good question, Clayton. First of all, the Asian elephant doesn't get as big as the African elephant. Very, 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 almost very different looking at the same time. Almost their head structure can look a lot different. Their ears are, I think it's either a lot bigger or a lot smaller with the Asian elephants. From what I remember, the Asian elephant has much smaller ears than that of the African elephant. But have a look at it, have a look at them. Get a picture of an Asian elephant out if you can, and actually mark it, see what the difference is, the similarities and the differences. Also, from another thing with the way in which cultures see elephants around the world, it's really, really interesting. I was studying how, indigenous cultures, when I was at my college last year, how they view different animals. And what was interesting was that the African savanna elephant seen by the Bushmen was otherwise known as the one-eyed Odyssey, which means that he was quite an angry. They used to almost fear the elephant because it used to just come through and destroy everything. They used to, within mythology, they used to compare it to that of the one-eyed Odyssey. Very dominant, very angry, crashes through everything. Ndlovu means to crash through, which is a Zulu name for elephant. Ndlovu. And with that, we heard a little crack. So you can make a very, very loud noise, these Ellie bulls. And the way in which the Asian traditions kind of saw that culture, they saw it as very wise. They see the elephant as very, very wise, a wise being. Dean from Nelspruit, why do elephants like pushing down trees? Well, I don't know if they particularly like doing it. I think it's just part of their nature in terms of getting water and getting food. And they're just so big, they can't help it how big they are. So they'll move towards anything and try and collect as much food as they can. And in the process of doing so, they'll knock down a tree. They also really, really like the taste of the cambium layer, which is just beneath the bark. And so they'll strip the bark off a tree and take that cambium layer, which is the very nutritious part of the tree that takes all the nutrients to the top of the leaves. And in that process, they ring bark trees that kills the tree, and over time that tree will fall down and die. But yeah, so those are some of the reasons why the elephant breaks down the trees. Oh, I'm just going to get into another position quickly. That is a sign of must, Sandra. So I just had to get out the way because I thought a vehicle was coming, but there's actually no vehicle coming. Thought I heard that. But that sound of, or that look of that stuff coming out of their face in musk is when their hormones are coming out and they become very hormonal. And that is the main reason why. But just while we're sitting here, well, you know what, let's go back and see if we can get a better position of that Ellie bull and have a look at that musk. There we go. We're going to see if we can get another nice sighting of the Ellie bull. literally right into the thicket now, huh? We can't see him, guys. We can't see the Ellie bull anymore. See if you can just look in there. No. It's just gone, guys. We can't go onto that property because it's not our property, but we see this Ellie bull quite often. So hopefully this afternoon or tomorrow we'll have another look at that Ellie bull and musk, and we can learn a little bit more about that behavior. It's quite interesting when you see them in this musk period and how they become very hormonal and how they act towards the vehicles. So it's probably better that we leave him now. I feel a lot better for leaving him, let him enjoy his food while he goes through this period in his life. And with that, I just would like to clear up a few things. As you can see, I've got my book in front of me and the spotted hyena. Let's put it up on that dashboard here. That is the spotted hyena. That is the hyena that we were sitting at just now. I explained that it was part of the feline family. That was a silly mistake that I just made. It's part of the Hyenidae family. So they've got their own family. 3 different types of hyenas. You get the striped hyena, the brown hyena, and the spotted hyena. And here in the Sabi Sands, we have the spotted and the brown, which is that one over there. Look how different that one looks. I can't wait to the day that I get to see a brown hyena. They're just so different looking. Look at that stripy legs and the long hair on top. So that's the 2 that we get here in the Sabi Sands. It's very difficult to see the brown hyena. I have never seen it. But there have been sightings of it up in the Kruger National Park, and that's the beautiful spotted one. And just going back, some people would also think that this is part of the hyena species, but I don't think it is. It's a Protellus cristatus, the aardwolf, which is also a very, very interesting animal to see. I've seen it once. It's highly specialized in adapting or to feeding to termites. So they eat termites. They've got long, I mean, you would never think that this animal eats termites, but they do. They have those long tongues and they go and find termites and they eat them. I've seen it once when I was living up in the Cederberg Mountains. Incredible looking animal that just ran past me, and just when you look at it, you're like, oh, it's incredible to look the different types of species are in the world. So with that, I'd like to say, glad I cleared that up. And every single day I'm learning more and more how to talk about the different animals out here in the bushveld, and it's very exciting for me. Me and Jeandre are having a great time. But with that, let's go and see what Brent's up to. We'll see you later.
So, welcome to the Far East. We have arrived, and we are the first people down the road, and as I always love to be the first person down the road to have the best chance at seeing new tracks and just figuring out what went on during the night. Well, I can tell you for sure the elephants stampeded this whole area during the night. Looks like they played on the road. There's just lots of Ellie tracks everywhere. Now what we want is a leopard track on top of that. That would be very exciting. And Bryan and I are of the opinion that it's getting colder, and there might be a bit of a front coming in, and I have resorted to blankets. Bryan has had his blanket on since word go this morning. I thought I was going to be tough, but as you know, it's tough being tough, and I'd rather be warm. So I've got my little blankie. Hopefully the animals are forthcoming this morning, and I don't have to walk around too much in this cold weather, although that might warm me up a bit. So we might get some of the nighttime animals wandering around a little bit later. And Megan is specifically wanting to see a porcupine, an anteater, or an aardvark, and a honey badger. Well, man, me too, every day. Hopefully, today is the day. And we had those very interesting leopard tracks on this road that morning. They went up and down on top of each other. So I was hoping that possibly might be a kill and heading towards a waterhole for a drink, but it wasn't, unfortunately. I think what happened is that Gijima walked down, heard Tingana calling, and turned around and think this is a bad idea, and moved off back to the north. Now, I did hear a rumor that Tingana was somewhere in Torchwood, which is off to our east here, and hopefully he might be meandering west. James is trying to call me. Standing by. So far, just lots of Ellie tracks. So just listening to the Game Drive channel quickly. Strange. I'm hoping that it breaks up the cloud. We're going to be cold enough as the winter months come without having to deal with the overcast weather as well. It's just very, very rude. Always an important spot to check these big intersections of roads, especially on a chilly morning like this where there's a bit of dew about. A lot of the lions and leopards would prefer to walk down a nice road, no wet toes, no wet faces from the grass. There's a retired maroon tree we're driving past. We're tired of our elephants. Megan was asking about honey badgers. There is a honey badger track. Oh, wait, let me just make sure. A honey badger track. So the two that can be very easily confused is a honey badger and a porcupine. Now, they've both got very big back pads, which can be a bit confusing. But on soft sand like this, there's a very nice, easy way to tell the difference. How's this, Bryan? Can we see?
Yep.
So here we go. There's a back pad of a honey badger. You see it's quite large and stepped over the front pad. But it's definitely a honey badger. If this had been a porcupine, there's always the most subtle little lines over the track like that. And some of them are very, very faint. And that's the back end of the quills dragging behind. So if they're just walking normally, quite often you'll see those quill tracks dragging behind, and only when they're really upset that they extend all their quills that you don't see that. So definitely a honey badger. And on tracking team and on foot, I've actually seen honey badgers quite a few times in this area. So fingers crossed. Thank you. So, of course, a lot of the smaller and more interesting mammal species, such as honey badgers and porcupine and warthog, caracal and serval, and genet and civet and white-tailed mongoose and bush babies. Am I forgetting anything, Bryan? Well, if I have forgotten anything, feel free to remind me by using the hashtag SafariLIVE or pop an email to questions@wildearth.tv. only come out at night, and generally sort of after 8 p.m., or maybe a little bit earlier now that we're moving through to the colder months. And Dee is wondering, what is the status of night vision drives? Well, Dee, I don't know. Of course, we are working on it. It is a very complicated process that needs quite a lot of kit, but it is in the pipeline. There's no definite answer just yet, but all I know is I am extremely excited at the prospect. While we continue in search of tracks, as well as honey badgers, porcupines, and other creatures of the night, we're probably sleeping, but we'll give it a go anyway. Let's go see what Mr. Samwise is up to.
An interesting drive with Brent, listening to all the different night critters, from the porcupine to the honey badger to the different beautiful animals at the night time. Look at that sky, how ominous, that grey with the lights coming through. It really is incredible. You feel like there is going to be a little bit of rain at some point today, and I'll tell you that the Sabi Sands would greatly appreciate it, and so would all the animals that are down here. I can also smell a very fresh scent, crisp, that's the word. PJ is asking, what is the current season in Southern Africa at the moment? And the date is today. I think it's somewhere, I don't even know what the day of the week is. Is it Thursday today? No, it's Thursday. Jeez, I got that right. It's Thursday, and we are halfway through April. And so that means we are coming towards May, which is the autumn time. So we've just come out of summer. As you can see, I'm wearing a jacket and another jersey because I'm quite cold, and a beanie. So it's already getting cold out here in the mornings, and it's only going to get colder. So I'm going to get gloves as well. So we're coming into the autumn, where we're going to see this whole bush turn a magical color. It's quite honestly my favorite time in the bush. You can imagine what roads you are on, wherever you walk in your cities, or if you're out in the countryside, when that land turns and starts to look like it's dying. It's incredible. So the bush is going to be doing that, and I look forward to experiencing that with you all. And then also being wrapped up in some warm clothes as it gets into the coldish winter time in the morning. But just on that process, like, autumn is such an important time for ecological, well, from an ecology point of view. All the trees around this area will die, and what they do when they die, and you'll have some plants that are evergreens. I'm sorry, I'm just going to pause for a second, because there's a bird out here. I have absolutely no idea what it is. When it comes out again, I'm going to play it again. Well, I'm not going to play it. But it sounds like this. I'll stop in my tracks when I hear the sound of that bird again, because if any of the viewers know what that bird call is, I would be hugely grateful if you know what it is. So hashtag SafariLIVE, tweet us in, tell us what you think that bird call is, or questions at wildearth.tv, where you can hear your answers. I'd love to know. But we haven't heard the bird call yet, so I'll stop in my tracks as soon as we hear that again. But just going back to what I was saying, it's a magical time, the autumn period, PJ. What happens is all of this will turn into a golden brown color, drop to the floor. And why it's such an interesting time is because trees are putting down all their old material, putting it to the ground. And what's so clever about that is that it then goes back into the soil, and it's what we call a feedback loop. So the tree is actually still sustaining itself through the dead material that it drops down, and then will come back into the leaf and help the new leaves grow in the future. We have got Jamie and James behind us on the tracking team. I'm just going to see if I can get out of the way of these cool human beings. You can come through, please, Jamie. Let's see how they're looking this morning. Oh, yes. Oh, that's exactly what I'm going to do. When they come past, I'm going to ask them what that bird call is.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. We were trying to take a picture of you.
Oh, really?
It was such a nice shot with the Buffalo's Hook cut line up ahead.
Yeah. Well, we were just showing everyone how beautiful the Buffalo's Hook cut line was with all the sun coming out of those nice grey, ominous clouds. I'm not sure what James is doing. I feel like there's cameras going everywhere. But a important question that I would like to ask you.
Yeah.
We've been sitting here and I had to stop dead in my tracks because I heard the sound of this bird call.
Okay.
And it's not going anymore, but it went. Is that right, Jeandre? No, that's a brown crown chagre. That's a chagre, no?
Yes.
So it's not the chagre.
Oh, yes.
I think so.
That's black ground.
But it was like a descending call, so it almost like a thick-billed kind of thick-billed. But it would... Yeah, it's definitely not any of the ones that we've done now. It's a good effort, but you know what we'll do? We just
a white-browed scrub robin.
It could be a white-browed scrub robin. I think so, James. Thank you for saying that because I think it might just be that.
Okay.
But I'm not.
Rather than us running through every single bird call we can think
Very
of.
bad whistling.
I don't think it was too bad.
That was very generous.
Thank you.
Anyway, with that,
As you were.
Yep,
we're gonna
sure.
show them the wonderful wilderness. Wilderness. Where does wilderness come from?
The word.
The word wilderness.
I don't know.
Got no idea. Paralyzed in panic.
The wilderness.
Where does it come from?
Panic. And I just read it. I was reading it the other day. Wilderness, I think, comes from vulture, from Beowulf. I don't know if anyone's read the book Beowulf. Yeah, back in the day there was that book.
I have actually.
Oh, cool. Nice. There we go.
Sorry. No, you carry on. Because I don't remember any of this.
Genre. Beowulf and vulture. It comes from vulture. So the first part of it is vul, which means will, so self-will. They said it was part of self-will. And then deer means the beast. So the beast, like understanding the different beasts out there from... I know Beowulf was quite a beast from what I remember, but it was really interesting. So it's self-will to understand the beast, wilderness. So I think that is the direct definition of that. But with that, let's go and see what Brent's up to. We are going to continue down Buffalo's Hook cut line and see what we can see at Buffalo's Hook Dam.
We just got this incredible whiff before we spotted it. Another big musk bull. Just giving him a little bit of space. Just in case he decides to be testy, we just got it. He looks completely fine, but as I said, always got to be a little bit more careful with these big boys when they're in must. When they're not, they're the most relaxed guys in the world. But you never know what's going through his hormone-pumped mind at the moment. And it is incredible the amount of these big Ellie bulls. It sounds like there's a breeding herd across our eastern boundary. No big boy. He's a bit younger than the one we saw this morning. Absolutely massive. I think he's a bit taller.
Yeah.
He's a bit taller, he's a bit younger, and he's a bit bigger. He's a massive boy. And that smell of must is literally just permeating through the air. It's such a difficult smell to describe. Someone described it as sort of decay the other day, which I don't agree with. And it's a very sweet smell.
Sweet and pungent.
Yeah, sweet, pungent. Again, that's not the best adjectives we can come up with, but it's a very distinct smell. I mean, once you've smelt it once, you'll never mistake it for anything else. Let's just keep walking. So we now can't move. We have to keep still. He's still feeding, but I mean, you can see how massive he is. Now he's probably sitting about 4.5 meters at the shoulder there. Hello, big boy. Hello. Oh, he's just rumbled. So it's very important in these situations just to keep still. If we try to move the car now, it could incite him. But so far, his body language is completely fine. He's still eating grass. But I won't lie, there is just that little bit of a thrill when these big guys come close to you. Your heart, even if you've done it a million times before, just steps up a little bit. No, you see, he came and have a look at us, and now he's happy that we're not interfering or causing any trouble with him. So he's going to move off. What I am hoping is he's going to go stand near a bush, so I can go stand next to it, and you can see how incredibly massive this guy is. Now, see the elephant's tail wagging happily. It's a very, very important part of the anatomy if you want to read their behavior. Any stiffness in the tail mat is quite often an indicator that they might be a little bit upset or about to give you a little bit of nonsense. Or we can almost see under his pad. Yeah, we can see under the back pad there. I love it when they do that. They're just resting, taking the weight off one of the legs for a little bit. Okay, and he's going to come very close again. Yes, you're big, very big. He's still just feeding, and I don't want to shout at him. He's not really doing anything too naughty at the moment, but if he happened to try smell the car or touch the car, then we would have a very different discussion, you and I, mister. But you're a good boy. He is incredibly big. I mean, you have no... it's so hard to explain how incredibly massive he is. He's probably 2 Land Rovers tall. Yes. Oh, you're a good boy. Oh, look at that. You can see his toenails. Oh, he moved away. He hasn't been for a pedicure in a while. He's a bit embarrassed. So, Chelsea, who is in the state of Utah, is wondering, are there other ways to tell an elephant's in must apart from gland secretions? The most obvious way is actually to see the drip out of the penile sheath and the smell. And he's just sprayed a whole bunch of dust between his legs, so it's a bit more difficult to see that. And he is excreting from the gland just behind his eye. But that is not always a sign of must. That can mean quite a few other things. Now, wasn't that incredible? He came up to us to have a look at us. We didn't put ourselves in his space. And with a lot of elephants, be they big musk bulls or breeding herds, it's generally far better to put yourself in a position where they can choose whether they want to come up to you or they don't want to come up to you. And obviously, he just decided to come have a look, and he fed right next to us. Now, look at that. And he's off tracking. I think I could hear some elephants off to his right, and he's probably off after that breeding herd. So, like with a lot of animals that have estrus cycles or come into heat, and Jessica is wondering about this. So how often does a female Ellie? Now, she'll only come into estrus when she doesn't have a baby. So, and they generally take probably, if I remember correctly, 4 or 5 years, maybe even a little bit longer, to completely remove themselves from their last baby. But when they don't have a baby, I'm a bit rusty on this, but I think it's once or twice a year, depending on the individual. And each individual with elephants can be very different. And same with musk bulls. Some bulls can stay in must for much longer than others, over a month, 2 months. Others will be a few short weeks. Now, there wasn't the ideal spot to do this, but while he's walking down the road there was a very small little bush that he stood right next to with his back leg. So I'm going to go show you how absolutely incredibly massive this guy is. So he was just here. There you go. I mean, I would not be even near to touch the top of his back here. I'm 6'3", and I don't know how long with the extension, but probably 7 foot-ish, maybe, and not even close to him. Now, also, if we come have a look, where's one of his nice clear tracks where he wasn't moving around too much? I suppose that one's okay. Look at that. Almost 2 of my feet. Now I've got size 12 shoes. Let me do that again. Sorry, I tripped over. So there, so there. So 2 size 12s. 2 size 12 shoes. Isn't that incredible? Ah! Let's go see if we can catch up with him before he crosses through to Buffelshoek. I think there he is. He's just going to be crossing our northern traverse boundary. Okay. That. So unfortunately he has moved just across our northern boundary, and I think he's going to keep heading there, following the breeding herds. There he goes. Bye-bye, big boy. And our elephants have those massive tusks, as well as very big teeth. Their teeth are quite a single thing. And Virginia's wanting to do that, get cavities. They can, Virginia. It is a little bit less likely. It's a very solid single tooth on the inside. If they get cavities, it can be in the tusks, and it's not really a cavity as such as a sort of break. So they often break their tusks while fighting or feeding, and there they can get infections and stuff like that. It's not a true cavity. And let's try and see if I must definitely, what I'll do, I will get a photograph or a nice picture of what an elephant tooth looks like from the sunset safari, and I'll show you properly there. So it's very, not too difficult to explain, but it's a very big single tooth, and they have those that rotate through their life. They have 6 sets of teeth over their life. Now, I've never seen a true cavity in any of the teeth I've found out in the bush and skulls and that, but not to say it's not impossible. Put my binoculars. I always love it, just having a quick squiz down this long road to nowhere. And we can see Sam. That's what I can see. You see Sam? There's Sam. Are we in a race to the Buffelshoek waterhole? I think I'm going to win. Boom, boom, Bryan. Again, always just check these junctions. Always a good spot to look for a sign of lion and leopard. So that big Ellie bull is part of an incredible sort of ecosystem, and James Richards asking about keystone species. He says those elephants are, and arthropods for their excavations and things. Are there any other keystone species? Well, buffalo is another keystone species, especially the big herds as they move through, grazing, keeping the grass short, fertilizing as those big herds move. Also their hoof action turns the soil, tills the soil is probably the best description of that. And in certain parts, not so much where we are here, but hippo is a very important keystone species, somewhere like the Okavango Delta, keeping river channels open, Zambezi River, keeping those river channels open, stopping aquatic vegetation, building up and closing and changing the flow of water. From those areas, a huge effect, and quite a visible effect is common, and it's a very quick effect compared to most things in the bush that take place over a very long time. So if you removed elephants, for example, this would become an impenetrable wall. There'd be nothing to keep breaking open the bush and keeping some of the open areas open, and removing certain tree species when they're younger, like sickle bush, and you would literally get an overpopulation of sickle bush, which creates almost a dense wall, and it also doesn't let any shade down to the ground, so the grass stops growing. And to the same degree, if you remove buffalo, it would also affect the grazing. The grazing would become worse because there wouldn't be those buffalo to till the soil, fertilize it. So very interesting if you look at these different things, and one must remember this is a very interconnected system. Everything from the tiniest little ant to that great behemoth of an elephant we've just seen is all connected. So we've just been chatting about one of those keystone species, and Sam has found some.
The keystone species, as Brent was just saying, is in front of us, rubbing its head on this branch. That's very interesting watching you do that. It's very interesting that buffaloes will go to all sorts of different plants. Well, mainly they'll do it on the Tumbuti plants, where they like the liquid that comes out of the bark, or the latex that comes out from the Tumbuti, and they'll rub it on their boss there. And that helps them with all sorts of parasites that might be building up on their bosses. But also, they also just like to scratch their bosses. That's why you often see lots of green stuff on their bosses. But what we have here is more than just one buffalo. We have two. Hold on. We might have another one. 3, 4. We got 4 big dagger boys. Ooh. Buffaloes, you've got to be very careful with buffaloes out here in the bush. As you can see, these guys are old men. They've seen a lot of life. They've been with the breeding herds, and now they're a little bit too old to follow the breeding herds. So now they sit in this nice clump of green. They'll start eating the grasses. And as Brent was saying just now about how they are ecological engineers of the bushveld, they're very, very important for creating new space for watering holes. When they find watering holes, they make them a lot bigger. They stand on them, they stampede on them with the big herds. They'll do that. But even just the old dagger boys, they'll go into. Oh, it's taking a nice, letting go of some morning water. So out here, these animals we'll come out to this. It is very lovely, isn't that lovely? Morning, let go of some water in the morning. I know that feeling. It's a good feeling. And anyway, more importantly, the ecological side of buffaloes is extremely important because they're creating space for more life. And we were talking about this yesterday when we were down by the buffaloes on the other side of Jeandre, where they open up the space, and that creates space for little insects like dragonflies that come in, and little frogs, which I was hoping to see this morning if we could have seen some frogs. So it opens the biodiversity a lot, and so does, so do elephants. Elephants are also a keystone species. And just to reiterate what a keystone species is, a keystone species is an animal that allows for more life to exist because of it. So elephants are great at that because they open up landscapes. Because as we were talking a little bit earlier with the elephant bull that we saw, they crush and they break down trees, and in doing so they create open areas, open space for animals that like the open areas. So we know that the antelope that like the closed spaces are the nyala and the kudu. They like to hide and be secretive, and they've got disruptive coloration on their bodies to help blend in into that environment. Whereas you get other animals such as, that like to come in the masses, that go into the open areas, like impala. Impala you'll mostly find in the open areas to get away from the areas where the predators might be. Also, more space obviously means that they can see behind the trees, and more eyes can see. So you'll see giraffe, zebra, wildebeest, impala, the many, many different animals out there. So it's very interesting when we start talking about the ecosystem and how the different role plays are in the ecosystem. And Alan Watts is a philosopher, or someone I deeply admire, his type of philosophy. And he talks about, life implies death and self implies other. And from my academic background, as most of you guys will know, I came from academia. I wasn't in the bush last year, so that's why my knowledge is still building, and I'm still trying to learn all the different scientific names and all those things. So that's growing as I spend my time here. But I loved learning about philosophy of the world and the way in which people saw it, from Aldo Leopold, who was a magnificent conservationist who influenced literature, and John Muir, who was also a conservationist. And all these people have influenced my way of seeing. But Alan Watts, what I was saying at the beginning, said self implies other. So that's understanding that the other is crucial to fundamental self. So the buffalo I don't think it sees itself as alone in this ecosystem. It realizes it needs all the other role players in the ecosystem in order for it to exist. And the same goes for me. I need, self implies other. So everyone that surrounds me, even from my job here in the Sabi Sands, is dependent on all the other role players that are in my life. So I just really enjoy that sort of literature and learning more about how the self is influenced by the other. And when we start to see that, we can see that with the elephant and the buffalo and how they are connected to their ecosystem. And when you start opening up the understanding of the ecosystem, it's truly interesting to understand all these trophic cascades, is what George Monbiot says. George Monbiot is a writer, political activist as well, from the UK, United Kingdom. He was part of my process of learning when I was at Schumacher College in England last year, and he talked about trophic cascades. And I'm sure any American viewer out there knows Yellowstone National Park and the way in which the wolves influence the landscape there. And isn't that incredible that we're starting to understand that only the mountain really knows the knowledge of the wolf and how the wolf influences that landscape. And that book can be read if you read a book by Aldo Leopold, it's called Thinking Like a Mountain. Really, really interesting, and it goes into how mountains are influenced by the biology. So biology and the abiotic are crucially interlinked. And I'm going to try and make this more simple. With the wolves that influenced the Yellowstone National Park, they actually changed the way in which the river structure was, because the wolves predated on the deer species, and that created landscapes of fear. And so the deer that were getting eaten by the wolves started not going to those areas because they realized, oh, I got predated on by a wolf there. I'm going to go to another area. And what that allowed was for the grass to grow in those areas where they were overgrazing. So the wolves were helping to regulate the species of deer, which then regulated the amount of plant species that were being eaten. And over time, after introducing the wolves there, the rivers started to change because of the change of patterns of the biology on the landscape. So it's truly interesting when you start to understand the different trophic cascades that are out there in the wilderness and how ecology really, really is. And, you know, it's something that is growing, the understanding of the natural world and the way in which it is all influenced by. So it's been a fascinating morning. Sitting with the elephant, sitting with the buffalo, and sitting with the hyena. As you can see, the buffalo here are probably going to be sitting here for a bit longer, grazing on the grasses. As you can tell, it's not a very hot morning if you have a look at the clouds above it. So they'll probably rest up here for another couple minutes, and then they'll probably make their way down to the waterine areas, and they'll start sitting in those mud wallows like we saw yesterday. Ooh. Safari Dean is asking me a fantastic question. What do you think these buffalo, what do you think they listen to? What type of music do you think they listen to? Well, Jeandre, I want you to be with me on this. Like, what do you think as well? So if you get an idea of what you think they might be listening to, please let me know, because, you know, I would have quite a biased opinion because I like certain music. So, but let's have a look at the structure of the buffalo. I think that's going to help. They've got a heavy head, so I reckon they're quite into heavy music, but they also look really relaxed. Look at them just relaxing there. So they like heavy music, but they also like to relax. And, you know, it's very relaxed. I mean, they love grass. They love grass. They really do. You can see them just chewing on that grass there. And that just reminds me of a fantastic singer. Well, not that, even just the way in which the head is. So it's the grass eating, it's the way in which that head is, the chilledness that they look, and I think that they also look like revolutionaries, as we understand them as ecological engineers. So they look like they're influencing the system. And so that would probably be Bob Marley. Jeandre, what do you think? Bob Marley?
Bob Marley, and I've seen them congregate outside of the shower when James sings.
Oh, woof. So when James is singing, you can often see the buffalo getting up on their feet and doing a rain dance. Trying to imagine that and picture that would just be quite a funny sight. That's a funny question. Yeah, I think it would be Bob Marley if I had to put anything to it. Frenchtown Rock. Well, we're gonna let them chill, eat some grass, relax in the foliage, listen to some Bob Marley music, and we're gonna go and see what Brent's up to.
So we've now done a big loop through Juma. We've checked the east, we've checked the south, we're going through the center now. So I think we're going to start meandering our way slowly towards the west and maybe see if there's anything happening on Arathusa. The Nkuhumas were on Sibambili last night. There's a possibility that they might have headed slightly further south into Arathusa and not, because they definitely haven't come west towards Juma. About to cross through the Milwaukee River system. Which is a wonderful spot. Had some fantastic sightings over the last year or so in and around the Mawati. I am hoping Queen Karula decides it's a nice spot to leave cubs a little later when they're a bit older, when they tend to leave the cubs around big trees where they can play in a safe environment. The sun burst through for a while. I got a little bit warmer, took my blankie off, but now it's got cold again. It's very confusing, this weather. I'm hoping it still burns off. So Tiffany's wondering whether the honey badger and polecat are related because they look very similar. Not at all. Polecats are far more closely related to mongoose and things like that. Honey badgers have got their own little family, but so not really closely related at all. The other thing is that they might look quite similar, but they are massively different in size. I mean, the polecat's tiny little thing. A bit bigger than a sort of well, probably about the same size as a slender mongoose, maybe even a little bit smaller, whereas the honey badger is probably similar size to Staffy, maybe a little bit like a small Staffordshire Terrier. They do share similar colorings. Now, those colorings are warning that black and white is something that sticks out a lot in the bush. And one thing they both share is they are able to excrete out of their anal gland some foul-smelling substance. And we are stalking Jamie and James at the moment. I think they are blissfully unaware. Let's see which way they're going to go, so we can go the opposite. James, what's your route from Penguin Track Weaver's Nest? North or south? No, not answering us. So, hello to Michael, who's 13 years old. Michael is wondering, would we be able to find one of the elephant's closest relatives, the rock dussie? There they go. So they're going south, we shall go north. Michael, unfortunately, well, they do occur in certain parts of the southern sands. They are quite rare. So they need a very specific sort of habitat, hence their name suggests, the rock dussie. They're like rocky outcrops with crevices and things like that, and we unfortunately do not have any of that type of habitat where we traverse in the Sabi Sand. So you never know. A friend of mine saw a klipspringer, which is an antelope that likes rocks, on a termite mound in the northern Sabi Sand. So anything is possible. It is highly unlikely. See a lot of termite mounds around, and Virginia is wondering, are they like icebergs? Are they bigger underneath than what we can see above? Sorry, 1 second, Virginia. Just listening to the radio. Virginia, yes, they're probably 2/4 are under, 2/4 under the ground, and only, I'm sorry, 2/3 under the ground, only 1/3 above. Let's start heading to the west. It's just listening to the update on the Game Drive radio. Unfortunately for us, fortunately for the Juma guests, the two Birmingham boys have been discovered on Buffalo's Hook to the south, to the northeast of where we had that big Ellie bull, but quite far east towards the Kruger boundary, probably about 2 or 3 kilometers. So maybe, fingers crossed, they're going to move back west during the night, or if it stays cool during the day today. One second, I've just got to get hold of James or Jamie. James or Jamie coming. James, please could you contact Family Control on WildEarth Channel 2? He's in trouble, of course. He's always in trouble. He's a naughty boy. I'm only playing, of course. That naughty boy is a line from one of my favorite movies, Monty Python's Life of Bryan. There's some piggies. Hello, pigs. Oh, got an itch, that little one. Looks like a young male. Judging from size, last year's baby. One in front, a little bit older. Look at that. It's not often you see warthog feed like that. Normally they like to get down and low. This guy's feeding from the tops of the grass. Look how he's stripping it. Mom's not so convinced we're not a possible threat, though. She's keeping a wary eye. Yes, piggies. They are just the most gloriously strange-looking creatures. Definitely listening and watching us intently while the young boy looks to be stripping. I can't really see from this distance which grass it is. It could be finger grass or panicum, buffalo grass. Look at her sniffing at us as well. She's not too convinced that we're not up to mischief. The young boy, however, is enthralled in his grass stripping. It's nice to just spend some time with some of the smaller animals, especially when they're doing something you don't see too often. Now, yes, it is 2 sets of warts there, so young male. I thought it might have been a female for a second. Probably eats the odd tick feeding like that as well, perched on the top of the grasses. Mom is still definitely keeping a very close eye on us. Oh, little ear flicks. And she's not feeding, she's still keeping watch. Now, if you're a herbivore, it pays to be a bit overcautious of all the predators that are abound. Oh, there we go. A little snack, but still definitely watching us more than feeding. Oh, and I'm going to move off into the thicker bush there. And we're going to keep heading to the west. So we've been chatting a little bit about keystone species throughout the safari this morning, and Blair in British Columbia was wondering about aquatic keystone species, and we did mention that one of them in certain environments is very much a keystone species, and she's saying, well, they've got beavers, which of course dam rivers, etc. in Canada, but ours is the hippopotamus. And they do the opposite. They unblock blockages, they keep channels open. So in areas like the Okavango Delta, the Zambezi River, some of the bigger river systems in Kruger, they're very important in keeping channels open. They walk those paths in the water, opening it up, keeping the aquatic vegetation out of them. So they are definitely a keystone species of the aquatic variety. See, warthogs have quite lovely ivory, sometimes it can be quite big. Christopher, who's in Arizona, now that is a sensible state, it always stays quite nice and warm. I like Arizona's weather. As far as I know, for example, Scottsdale's got a very similar climate to what we've got here. But Christopher's wondering, are warthogs ever poached for their ivory? They're not, Christopher. When they are poached, they are generally poached for their meat, which is very tasty. But again, very seldom. Warthog is a true omnivore. They will eat carrion, they'll scavenge off kills, they'll eat ground nesting bird babies and eggs. And Jeffrey is wondering, do they ever eat their own young? Jeffrey, I've never ever heard of cannibalism in warthogs, so I'd say it's not impossible, but it's very highly unlikely. You find cannibalism, especially of eating their own young, is more common in your predatory species, your true predators. Try to figure out, Connor has added some new radios here, so we're trying to get a better radio signal while we are across in Arethusa on the game drive. So just bear with me a second, I'm going to try and switch it on. I can't see. Big fat fingers are struggling. We have it on, and it's on the right game drive channel. Okay. If we continue. Now, just to confuse me, I've added another radio to my collection here, so I'll just untangle things. That one we don't need now. That one we go off. There we go. Now, a That's what I'm looking for. Morning stations in the west. Can I have an update for Safari and Dow, please? Maybe we have to get a bit closer.
Anyone responding for Nkuhumas? Yes, please. For you now. Second Women Ride, south of the Muddy Pen. Okay, you should see any moment now.
It sounds like they found the Nkuhumas ride. How exciting. I'm going to see what the vehicle movement is around there.
Should I go to?
Stations, can I get an update on vehicle movement around the Nkuhumas and the exact position? Maybe we can hear them, but we're a bit too far to speak to them, so I'm just going to pop up onto the high ground.
Negative. Okay, I can put it now.
I try to sort out the communications and get an update on where exactly the Nkuhumas ladies are. Let's jump back on board with Sam and see what he's up to.
Ooh. Everyone, it's been an interesting encounter since we were with Bob Marley chewing on some grass, which were the buffaloes, which was fantastic. And now we are coming down. We're very close to Buffelshoek Dam. So I'm actually in an area where I've never been before, which is quite exciting. If we have a look here, we're actually coming past a watering hole that I think was full just the other day. But it must have, I mean, you can see all sorts of tracks and signs of different animals that have been in here. And I'm presuming there could have been some elephants. Let's see what track. Those are Ellie tracks over there. Loads of Daggerboy tracks. We were talking about, ecological engineering a little bit earlier. It's a great example. That could have just started from a warthog. Warthog could have just started that little hole many, many years ago, or a couple of years ago even. No idea when that would have started, but it would have eventually opened up and got a little bit bigger, and then everyone would have started using it, and it became a place where water could fall down into. And now it's home to many other different species, so that was fantastic seeing that. It just allows for more biodiversity to thrive, especially on Jeandre. Yo. Jeandre, do any of the trees' leaves go yellow or orange when it goes autumn? They most certainly do, Jeandre. It's an incredible sighting to watch in the bush as the whole bushveld goes orange. If you're here with us in a month's time or even a couple of weeks, I'll be able to show you all the different leaves falling on the trees. And it's such a magical time because then you can really see the skeletons of the trees. We can learn a little bit more about that. So we'll definitely be able to see that. Is it beautiful from where you are, Jeandre? What's it like where you are in terms of the color of the vegetation as you move towards autumn? I'd love to know. Or if you have a picture, please hashtag SafariLIVE on tweets of a picture of autumn, and we can have a look and we can compare what it's like in your part of the world to here. That's something that I still can't believe. Oh, okay, so you guys are going into summer. So the USA are going into summer. And that's really, really interesting. That's great. We're going to be jumping in the pool, eating some ice creams while I get wrapped up. Yeah. Jeandre thought that was quite funny. But we're going to get wrapped up. We're going to have our gloves on while you're sitting by the pool watching us on SafariLIVE. Isn't that amazing how connected our planet is now? We can almost feel like we're in the bushveld, which is a completely different biome and weather pattern. Ooh, whoa. Just gonna reverse quickly. Have a look at that, guys. I'm guessing that this comes from a community nest spider. Community nest spider. You can actually see the spider, a spider over there. Can you see it there? There it is, on the top of your screen. There it is. Look at that spider, everyone. It looks so cool in that morning sunlight. You can see almost like you can see he's working there. You can see the back. This is incredible, everyone. Wow, look at that. The intricacies of the natural world is really what amazes me. That, you know, spiders' webs are so resilient. They are so strong. And they come out of the bottom of the spider. And, you know, we have to create materials through heat, beat, and treat, whereas a spider can just do this in the back of their abdomen. And they create the most intricate shapes and oh, there's another spider. You can see it crawling up there. Wow, guys. So the community nest spider is the only social spider that you get. And there are some birds that actually will take used and old community nest spiders and use it as a nest. And I think that is the chin spot batters that will do that. I could be stand corrected on that one. Oh, so there's three. There's 1, 2, 3 spiders there. Wow. It's funny, I was actually sitting with Brent just yesterday morning looking at a community nest spider, and we were just having a look, and all of a sudden this fly was irritating Brent, and he waved his hand, and the fly just got stuck in the net. The spiders came and took out the fly. I guess it wasn't funny. You know, it's not nice watching stuff get wrapped up in that experience. But it was irritating Brent very much by his face. You know what flies can be like. They can be super irritating. But look at those little legs. Wow. Look at that. Spiders. It's so funny. My twin brother, his name's Tom, he does not like spiders. You get a spider anywhere close to him, he will literally freak out and run away. And as I was growing up as a kid, I used to run into his room whenever I found a spider or anything. I would just irritate him with spiders. But you can see, look how, oh man, this is so cool. You can see the back of the spider just working there, building his nest on this combretum, which looks like a red bush willow that it's on, the type of plant that it's on. Wow, guys, that was incredible. Yeah. Starry Nights just had a look at that web shape and was like, look how interesting that web shape is, and it really is quite interesting. It is it's a very different design and pattern, and I think the way in which it's been designed is for the community of the spiders. As we've already seen 3 spiders on this, and there, as Jeandre gets closer to it, looks like where the home will be, where you'll find the young spiders will be born or hatched. So it is a very interesting design. Hey? Spiders, anything small. I love this song. What I'm starting to learn more about, what I'm interested in, is just looking into these little intricate things. It's incredible that they can build such a strong material just from the abdomen of the spider. And you know, from a biomimicry point of view, they've actually replicated, or trying to replicate, that material of a spider within within materials, or, yeah. We can look more into that from a biomimicry point of view. Biomimicry is simply learning about the natural world and trying to apply it to human-centered design. So from the leaf that is sitting next to that, to that spider, understanding that pattern here, we can very clearly see the different, almost, the word I'm going to use is dendritic, which is the way in which that leaf structure is. If you have a look at those lines that are in the leaf, that design really helps filter water across the leaf and get water to all parts of the leaf. And I actually wrote a paper 2 years ago on how we can design cities in such a way that the way in which leaves decentralize water. So it was really interesting. There's one big main vein that then sends all the water to different areas. And that is the most effective way of decentralizing water. So imagine our cities could think like that. Wow. It's amazing what the natural world can teach us. But I've never seen this before. I've seen community nest spiders, but I've never just seen two of them. You can see both the backs there just moving. It's great camera work from Jeandre. He's got such a great angle of both the sun, the leaf, and the two spiders that are in this tree. If you can, screenshot this, take a picture of it, keep it in your archives, show your friends and be like, check this, guys, I saw two spiders in a web and they were making their designs. Wasn't that cool, huh? That was awesome. From watching buffaloes, talking about Bob Marley, and sitting with hyenas, learning more about the way in which they live, to a tiny little insect like a spider. Well, you get big spiders. You definitely get some very big spiders. When I was in the Amazon last year, I saw spiders like that were this big. So that was quite scary, to be quite honest with you. But then to these tiny little spiders that exist within these communities, it's incredible when you start looking at the small little intricacies of the natural world. You go from a macro picture all the way to a micro. When you look around you, there's just so much happening. Pretty Nightmare. Wow, is that a Twitter name? Pretty Nightmare. Yo, I don't know if I've ever had a pretty nightmare. Where have all the flowers gone? Asking Pretty Nightmare. I have absolutely no idea where the flowers have gone. They should be alluring me in because I love my flowers. Oh, there's a flower. Yeah, Pretty Nightmare, I found a flower. There we go, great. Ooh, what flower is that? That's a beautiful flower, hey? You have a little cough there, Jeandre, you're right.
Sorry.
It's all right, don't be sorry. Get that cough out, man. Yeah, I don't know what flower that was. I'm not sure. If you know what flower that was, please hashtag SafariLIVE. Educate me on these flowers, and then I'll be able to educate the rest of the world when I have the opportunity. So that was a beautiful looking flower. What I love about flowers is they teach us a lot about geometry, and something that I'm highly fascinated in is understanding sacred geometry. What is sacred geometry? What is the flower of life? You can see the design of sacred geometry in almost anything that you see. A very complex subject to talk about sacred geometry, but it's just all about learning about the intricacies of the natural world and understanding how some patterns exist more than others. It's like when you look at a hive, a beehive. Have a look at the beehive and look at the shape and the design of the beehive and what shape is that? What shape do you think that is? You get a pentagon, a hexagon, an octagon. Can you think what shape a beehive, the little patterns that go on top of each other like this, What is that shape? Because that shape, if you can let me know, #SafariLIVE, I'd love to know, is a very, very important shape within the natural world. It's actually the strongest, most resilient shape that helps to build things on it. So you can imagine over millions of years that the bee has evolved over time. It has designed ways in which it can be more efficient. So hopefully maybe we can see a beehive at some point. But we are going down into Philemon's Dip. Sometimes we lose a little bit of reception here, so bear with us if the screen goes a little bit blank, but it's actually quite exciting. Going down into a dip. You know what happens when you go into dips, into riverine areas? Sometimes it can be your best chance of seeing a leopard or one of those secretive animals like a Nyala or a bushbuck. And you've got some beautiful tamburtis. I love tamburti thickets. This is a tamburti over here. Jeandre is going to point and he's going to see, look down this little riverine area. It's one of my favorite things to do when I'm on a bushwalk, to just walk through a riverine area to learn and see what else is in those areas. We are coming up. Ooh, yellow-billed hornbills. Red-billed hornbill. Yellow and red-billed hornbills. Hornbills. Not hornbills. Hornbills. So, I spent quite a bit of time here at Buffelshoek Dam lately, and it's provided so much amazement lately. We had a hippo with 2 terrapins, and I think that was with Bryan yesterday. Ooh, look at those little terrapins going. Oh, that was awesome. Close up there, you might be able to see the little heads of the terrapin. Oh, there he is. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little terrapins. With that, we're going to see if the terrapins can come out. Let's go see what Brent is up to, looking at the vultures.
There we go, look at that. Now, it has been particularly chilly this morning, and there is a vulture taking advantage of this glorious sunlight, basking to warm up before taking to the skies in search of carrion. As we move more and more into the dry and cold months, we're going to see a lot more animals sunning themselves. Vultures, monkeys, lions, cameramen, presenters. All of us will be sunning ourselves in the cold morning as soon as that sun pops up and starts to warm up the African bushveld. Now, an update, speaking of animals that like to sun themselves, in that cold morning, when so fingers wait minutes, and we're going to head straight there. It'll be interesting to see if they've had anything to eat. If they're still looking a little bit on the hungry side. I haven't seen the Nkuhumas ladies for quite a while, but I'm very catch up with them. So, while we go through this little bit of a dip, let's jump back on with Sam.
Hold on. Here we are, everyone, back at Buffelshoek Dam. We didn't go through Philemon's Dip, as I quite, self-assuringly said as we went into the dip just now. We actually went into Buffelshoek Dip, and that's often a place where we don't have signal. So I think it's quite interesting that we managed to hold off signal. Sorry, it's getting exceptionally hot out here at the moment. I'm taking my beanie off. So Buffelshoek is not as full as it generally is. I think this might be because it's actually been quite a cool morning so far. We did see some terrapins that were jumping out of, they were all sitting on the side of the riverbank there as we drove in, and they all just sort of running down the little banklet there and ran into the water. It was quite a funny thing to see. But wow, it was incredible. I don't know if any of you guys were with me. I think it was 2 years ago. 2 days ago. And we watched some buffaloes knocking horns together. It was quite a sight to see. But I've really enjoyed coming here to Buffelshoek just because it provides such a lot of entertainment from looking at the different birds. And I mean, up in these trees here are the red-billed buffalo weavers, and they were just flying up and down here, carrying little twigs into this tree, and it's not often that you see it, so I really wanted to come back and see if we can see the red-billed buffalo weaver coming back and building its nest here. It's crazy how, you know, animals and birds and everything of the natural world has such purpose. You know, they really know what, you know, such purpose. That intrinsic value that they bring to their own lives and to the environments is something that I've always been so fascinated by. They know exactly what they need to be doing all the time. The red-billed buffalo weaver has also an interesting little call, little chirp. As we look into that, look at that nest, it's thick. Look how thick it is. This is going to protect a whole bunch of females that the male will look after. So it's a big mansion that holds many, many females. But we've had a look a few times at it, so I just wanted to see if it might be there. Buffelshoek at the moment is looking quite dry in terms of, not dry in terms of, it's got lots of water, it's got loads of water, but dry in terms of what there is in terms of buffalo and that sort of thing. And I think that's because I think it's quite cool this morning. But as the day begins to heat up, we can imagine, you know, we'll be coming back here this afternoon. The elephant herds are going to come, the giraffe might come and have a drink by the water. It's going to get hot. So this place will be very productive later. With that, we're going to go in towards Drakensberg Road, slowly but surely learning these roads. We're going to see if we can find some leopard tracks. Crystal, a new viewer. Crystal, you're asking how often do we view leopards here on the property? So Crystal, I'm also very new to WildEarth. I've been here for, what, week and 2 days now as a presenter, and I've seen 2 leopards since I've been here. So in the space of 1 week, I've seen 4. I've seen 4 leopards. I saw 2 baby cubs. Last week, I saw 2 baby leopard cubs. Never in my life would I ever think that I'd be that happy. It was probably the most incredible moments I've had. When I went out with the other presenter, his name's Brent Smith, and we went tracking for the leopard, female leopard, and we saw the young cubs, and we moved off straight away just because, you know, you have to be very careful around cubs and the female. But yes, we do get good sightings here. And the name of the beautiful leopardess, her name's Karula. She's 12 years old, as Ellen Fowler told me, so I was very grateful for all the other viewers that have been helping me learn a little bit more about the leopards that are here. And, you know, yeah, Karula, she's the leopardess here, and hopefully if you stay online, Crystal, maybe we'll see a leopard now. We're going to do our best to find some tracks. But we do see one every other day. Wow. Check these tracks. I'm just going to get into a position where you can see it. Well, have a look at these tracks, everyone. I know that the sun isn't going to make it very easy for you to see the tracks. It's not very easy to see the tracks, but when we go to the back here, I'll show you exactly what track it is. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get out the vehicle and see if I can make this a little bit easier. Right, I know that it's not a very good angle from the sun, so it's very hard for you to see these tracks, but you can see here quite prominently that there's 2 tracks on the side there and 2 up in the front here. So it goes out like that, almost like a little 4-fingered hand. So I'm going to show you that one, but just while we're down here, I don't know if you're able to see it as well, but there's an elephant track over here, which is like quite round, like that, and it has like little markings in the side there like that. So that's like an Ellie track there. And I'm going to come a little bit closer. I'm going to show you the different tracks to which they are. The 2 different tracks that we just saw now was firstly the hippo track, which is a very, very interesting one to see. The hippo track, you have to be very careful on foot. So when I got out the vehicle, I had a quick look to see if there was any hippos in the distance there, because we are in between a watering hole and potentially a hippo in front of us, and that is when it can get very dangerous. Hippos are known to be very, very dangerous animals in terms of on foot when they're outside of the watering holes, because they get very, very nervous and they'll just run towards you and run over you as it goes to the watering hole. So we had to be careful there. And over here is an elephant track. And that is the other one that we just saw here. So we've seen 2 tracks this morning. With an elephant, we also have to be careful because we might come across a female that's with a youngster, and she might get uncomfortable. So when being in the bushveld and getting out the vehicle, one has to be very aware of the environment that's around it. But what we've seen, the story has started. We have found the tracks and the signs of both an elephant and a hippo. So we're going to continue down this road. We're going to slowly bumble down and see if we can locate those animals. Firstly, I need to plug in my device so I can hear all of you. So it's best that we stay silent here. I'm going to be very quiet as we go down here and see if we can locate on this hippo or on this elephant. It will be unlikely to see a hippo, but if we do, it'll be great. I've just got news that the Nkuhumas, the pride that are here, Brent is with them. Let's go see them. We'll see you later.
There we go, Nkuhuma ladies. Only one head up. Oh, she's going to do a bit of a stretch using that tree. Oh, a bit of claw cleaning. Not a very serious attempt. Hello, good looking. I don't see big bellies, I'm afraid. So it looks like they are a bit hungry. Oh, there we go, we're going to see much better now. Oh, they're not too hungry. They could definitely eat though. Just moving through to the shade to flop down. Now it is quite and they might have had a few unsuccessful hunts overnight. And they definitely could eat, but they're not overly hungry just yet. And it's always wonderful to catch up with the Nkuhuma ladies. beautiful morning, starting to warm up. So the rest of us creatures are starting to get really moving, start shedding some layers, and the lions are going to be doing the opposite as it gets warmer. Oh, there we go. Oh, no, maybe not the best pillow. Popped her head down now. And accounted for. And a very lazy lambs. Well, Nemo, you're spot on. They definitely could use a meal, but then by no means desperate for a meal just yet. They might be a bit peckish, but definitely not near starvation. So the reason they probably moved into this area where they haven't been for a while is possibly because of that ongoing altercation between the Birmingham boys and the Salati males in the north. So it seems to be the Birminghams have been moving up and down, and I think they're just trying to stay as far away as possible from the battle of the males. Let's just try and reposition slightly. Now, while we do that, Natasha from the Great White North of Canada, more specifically on Ontario, hello Natasha, would like to know, do lions cover up their dung like house cats? They do not, Natasha. It is quite an important scent marking tool and border marking tool, so they do not cover their dung at all. Hello ladies. How's that, Bryan? Look at that, using a pillow. Oh no, it's not a terminalia, I apologize. It's a red bush willow pillow. Oh, tired kitty. Well, they probably won't move too far today. They might move a little bit into the shade as the sun moves through the sky. And it is really true that there's no animal I know who sleeps like a lion. I mean, look at this one here. Look at her. She is KO'd, knocked out. And they manage to look very comfortable. Quite often a lot of animals don't look too comfortable. But a lion, when it's in a good sleeping mode, is always looks very, very comfortable. Now, of course, they might look like they completely KO'd, but of course they're not. Any slightest noise or smell will trigger them into action. Now, it's still quite cool in the morning, and they don't have very full bellies, so there's not a lot of heavy breathing going on, which we quite often see with lions when they've got full bellies and sleeping. I wonder what they were up to overnight. What were they chasing? And I wonder which way they're going to move from here. Definitely worth following up on the sunset safari. hopefully they do get moving, and hopefully they might find a meal. Very, very still. Got the birds going around us. The most obvious calling is the Cape turtle dove. So we saw a Birmingham boy that wasn't looking in too good a shape, and I'm sure some of you guys are wondering about it. I'm not sure where he is. He's moved off, so I'm sure he's just fine. Hopefully he has found a meal, because he's in serious need of one. And while the lions are sleeping, I've spotted quite an interesting butterfly, and it looks like, oh, I think it might be a new species for us. Let's just have a look. A closer look at it now. Looks like an acria, but yesterday I did see a pseudo-acria, a fake acria basically. Oh, there we go, now we can see it properly. So you see those very distinct spots, and we're looking at the black on the wings as well. It's quite dark. I think we might have a new one, Bryan. Where is he going? Oh, there he is. Very, very dark in the middle. Now, I'm trying to have a quick squiz in the book here. I'm not seeing any acrias that have that, so I had the suspicion it might be a pseudo-acria, so a mimic. And they mimic the acrias, because the acrias are, of course, noxious and poisonous, whether it's they or not. I think it is definitely one. Yeah. That's amazing. Even while you sit with the lions, there's always stuff to look at. I'm just checking in the book here. What would you say, Bryan?
Yeah, looks okay.
There you go. I think it is that one there, from what I could see. And that is a pseudo-acria boyduvali tremini. And the common name is Trimen's false acria. So in the early morning and the late evening, they're seen close to the ground like this, but during the heat of the day, they rest on top of really tall trees. So really fascinating, and that's definitely a new one for the butterfly, not the buffalo list. We've got buffalo on the buffalo list, and there's only buffalo on the buffalo list, but no, for the butterfly list. So I think our lovely lady, I'm not going to be up too much.
we are heading into the thick foliage. Been told that you're sitting with the lions. How's it going? I'm sure it's going great. It's incredible to watch that beautiful lion pride. Nkuhumas. Nkuhuma, sorry. I keep saying it wrong sometimes. Nkuhuma. Ma. Nkuhuma. Z. Nkuhumas. Thank you, Jeandre. Jeandre is the cameraman that is behind the camera. To all the new viewers today, we've had 2 already today. We are a team, and we go out there and we try and bring an experience to you all. We were following hippo tracks, so I'll just talk to you through our rationale there. Hippos, we went normally in that watering hole that we were at yesterday, where we saw the 2 terrapins on top of the hippo. That's normally where we saw, well, that's where we saw the hippo, and we went there now and it wasn't there, and we saw tracks of the hippo going down the road. And when I got out the vehicle to show you the tracks, I had to be very careful. But so it wasn't there. We knew it was outside the water. We followed tracks for about, no way is this good. No, sorry, I actually thought that the tracks had just come back on the road, but they hadn't. So we followed tracks a little bit longer, but we weren't going to get out the vehicle to see if we could find the hippo. Of course, it's not a very clever thing to do. So, but one day, I hope that if you stay online and you come on one morning and we find, or probably in the evening, that we're going to see a hippo out of water. It's such an incredible sighting to see when you see a hippo. It's out of its comfort zone. Its comfort zone is the water. It loves the water. But we got loads of impala, nyala, and kudu tracks on this road. Well, mainly kudu and nyala. It will be difficult to see in impala, but we are going to see if we're going to find something around this corner. Hopefully a beautiful female or a male kudu. That's what I'd love to show you before the show ends today. But let's go see what Brent is doing with the lions.
So as you can see, not a muscle moved, apart from the ear twitches to try and keep the flies away. So great to know where the lovely Nkuhuma ladies are, and I think it could be a very worthwhile sunset safari spent with them, as they are hungry enough that they might get hunting a little bit early. So we're going to leave them to their slumber and come back for the sunset safari. And hopefully they won't be snoozing. Heidi says she will start a buff list. Thank you, Heidi, for saving me. So, well, I suppose we could. We've got the one buffalo that looks like Taylor Lord. What's his name? I think he might also look a little bit like. I've been outvoted by everyone else.
To all the viewers that know the roads quite well here on Djuma, we are now going down Nyala Road South. Above us is Nyala Road North. Sometimes we have some signal problems there. We're going to follow this, and why we're going to follow Nyala Road South is because it actually follows the drainage line. So there's every chance that we can see a cat, like a leopard, or we may be able to see some elephants or some buffaloes, again, that are trying to get away from the sun as it's starting to get a lot hotter out here in the Sabi Sands. The Sabi Sands is 60,000 hectare property, with private owned property. Chelsea and Utah. I'm going to do I'm gonna search for a male kudu with big spiraled horns. Wouldn't you like to see that, Jeandre? Now we're gonna do our very best. Jeandre is gonna be on camera, of course, but he's gonna have a quick look every now and then to the left of us. I'm gonna look to the right, and we're gonna find a. So I'm looking left. That's your job, Jeandre. Jokes. Jeandre needs to make sure that the camera is working well. So I'm gonna be looking in every direction. There goes the fork-tailed drongo. So it's just gone over the tree there. It's good to watch out for birds like the fork-tailed drongo because they often follow other animals, mammals, and as they walk on the grass, it flicks up all the insects and that sort of stuff, and they come down and grab the insect. And if any of you are studying biology, that is a type. What type? That's a good question. What type of symbiotic relationship is a drongo to a mammal like an elephant? You get three types: commensalism, mutualism, and parasitism. Parasitism. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Parasitism. But it is one of those. Please hashtag SafariLIVE, tweet it in. What kind of relationship is a drongo to an elephant? And I'll explain it again. The drongo is feeding off the insects from the elephant, so the drongo is benefiting, and the elephant is neither harmed nor benefited. Difficult to spot a kudu. Megan's asking me a fascinating question. Are birds' nests ever detrimental to that of a tree? Jeandre, have you ever heard of a bird nest that is detrimental to a tree? No, I can't think of anything. I mean, you can imagine a martial eagle has a very, very big nest. So does that of a hammerkop, which will get all sorts of different types of leaves, and even, we'll find anything to make a nest. That's the hammerkop. But I'm not too sure. I don't think so. I don't think so. So if you do find out if there is a bird that really does affect a tree, I'd love to hear about it, and please hashtag SafariLIVE. I can imagine there is something that it does. That a bird's nest might do to a tree, maybe bring in a type of parasite that then kills the tree. Be interesting to find out. Great question, Megan. So, I know we would like to find a kudu bull, big spiraled horns, but we could also see a bushbuck, or we can see an Inyala. And one of my favorite looking animals is a male Inyala, just because it almost looks like it's got a big winter coat on all the time. And so we're going to see if we can find a kudu, but also a Inyala or a bushbuck. So we go through this. And while we're driving past it, we've had an interesting morning of Ellie's. This morning with Brent, you were with baby Ellie's. This afternoon, or later this morning, I was with a big Ellie bull, and we were watching it eat the bark or eat all the leaves off a branch, and that's called mulling. And over here, what we have here is a tree that has beginning to become ring-barked. And we spoke about ecology, and we spoke about how trees are basically pushed down by elephants and how they're killed by elephants. Here, you can quite clearly see that an elephant has ripped the bark off this tree and to get to that cambium layer that we were talking about. The nutritious layer of a tree is the cambium layer beneath this. So we've linked that from this morning to now being able to see that up close, which is incredible. Interesting to see that. Look at the texture, the difference between the inner and the outer tree. But Something that I would like to quickly note on before we carry on looking for a nyala or kudu is that this tree may fall down once it's been ring barked. And that's not a bad thing. Like, you know, it's bad for the tree itself, but for the biodiversity of the area, it's not bad because it'll fall down, and what will happen with that log? The log will start to become a little bit more holy, it'll get older, and in its age, and as just being a dead log, it's not just a dead log on the floor, it becomes home to so many different insects, from beetles to scorpions to, anything, little spiders, to homes for snakes. So when you see a dead log wherever you are in the world, and you think it's just a dead log, it's because you're not looking close enough. Get closer to that log, get a magnifying glass, see what's in there, have a look at the ant colonies, look at the termites that are moving around it, get to know that log a little bit better, because everything is influencing everything out there, and all it takes is a closer look to better understand how the ecology of our ecosystems work. As we carry on looking for our nyala or our kudu, let's go and see how Brent's doing.
So, we got asked about caracal and other little cats earlier. Now, in this area, Bryan and I managed to get the first serval ever on the live safari for killer bees. Now, this is also 3 nights ago, the area where that caracal was spotted. So, eyes up, eyes open. Maybe the luck will hold out. I think I'd be excited to even see a caracal track. Alas, at the moment, my favorite creature has been few and far between, the African wild dog. And Bill's wondering where have they gone. So they've finished mating, most of them already, and they're moving into denning season, and both packs still have the same alpha female. So it looks like they're going back to use the exact same dens they used last year. One in the Manuleti and one in Mala Mala. So unfortunately, we're probably not going to see too many wild dogs for the next couple of months until those pups are up and running with the pack again. But you never know, and stranger things have happened. So they might move a den closer, because they will use multiple dens. So fingers crossed, Bill, the wild dogs come back for a visit. Bye, hi. We'll see you guys just now. There we go. Bypassing Jeandre at a coffee break. I think if we don't see any caracal or serval, it's obviously not our fault anymore. I'm only joking. The likelihood of seeing them during the day is very slim. They'll be pulled up in a thicket somewhere. I did hear might be another big musk bull in this area. I just came for a quick look. I can smell him, but I can't see him. I'm tracked by a nostril. I think he went that way. I mentioned earlier on this fire, we are seeing a lot of big Ellie bulls recently, and most of them are in must. So what is happening is a lot of those breeding herds, they'll have a lot of females that are in estrus, and that's pulling those bulls to us. And must is quite a strange thing, because it can depend on every year when the elephants come into must, and these big dominant bulls like we're seeing at the moment are only really all going to come into must when there's a lot of females to compete over. So that's why we're seeing them at the moment. But also going forward now into the dry months, I do think we're going to see quite a few more big Ellie bulls than we did last year. and that's due to the fact we haven't had that much rain this year. So the availability of water is going to be a lot less. So that's why we're probably going to see a few more, especially down on Cheetah Plains. And you're going to get those big bulls coming out of the Kruger to 3 in a row pan and Cheetah Plains pan. So very exciting. Like he's meandered off into this block here. Now, Cheryl was musing whether the Ellies can be aggressive during musk because those glands behind their eyes start swelling and put pressure on their eyes. Cheryl, I don't think so. I don't think those glands swell too much, as rather they secrete. So it's not a swelling of the glands, it's a secretion of the glands. And the reason they're possibly a little bit more aggressive is that they've got a lot of hormones and testosterone, androgen, and those sort of male hormones that are pumping them up to fight off the other males. So other things might be perceived as a threat, as when they're not in that heightened hormonal state, it's not going to be seen as a real threat. Now, speaking of elephants, I think younger Sam has found some, so let's go have a look.
Elephants, loads of elephants this morning, everyone. It's fantastic. Wow. Did you hear that? Sounded like quite a distressed call. Look at the little youngster we're looking at now. This can't be maybe 2 to 3 years old, this little young. There's a watering hole just ahead of it there. Good chance that there's 2 Ellies. There's 2 Ellies just here in front of us. Can't see the other one here. But there is a whole herd, a breeding herd of elephants that are here. Incredible. There's a small youngster there in the brush there. Hopefully if we stay silent, if we keep it a little bit quiet and we be patient, slowly but surely, I think the breeding herd is going to move in this direction. There they are. You can see them just in the background there. What an incredible way to end off our drive. Just sitting in the middle of a breeding herd of elephants. You can just hear them feeding in the background. Wow. See a big one over there. Wow, that's a big... It's either an elephant bull or a big matriarch that's walking up ahead of us there. So it seems that they're actually walking in that direction. So you can see most of the bums are facing us. But we're going to keep it easy as we're here now at the end of drive. We're just going to sit with these youngsters, just watch them for a bit. Hopefully they'll feed a little bit and go down towards the watering hole and have something to drink. Because it is getting quite hot here. I love watching the elephants though, they're so cool. Siberia Zumi is asking me, do I get the feeling that the elephants can understand what I'm saying when I'm talking to them? You know, elephants are such an incredible species, which is an animal in general. When you're sitting in the presence of them, you just feel, I just get the influence of the wisdom that they have the land and to just the way that they are. Their whole persona is just incredible. And I think it's not really what I'm saying that they understand, but it's more the way in which I act around them that they understand. I think they've got an exceptionally good way of feeling and sensing people out here in the environment. So if I had to sit here and felt unrelaxed and uncomfortable with them being here, I think that they would pick up on that sort of fear, on that feeling of that anxiety. And that's the kind of things that they'll pick up on. Not necessarily what I'm actually saying right now. I think one of the greatest things that my mother taught me when I was a kid was empathy. Was that to feel what the other is feeling. And I get that very much with elephants. I just get this sense of empathy when I'm around elephants. And I had my best friend who loves elephants very, very much. His name was Michael Macmillan. And he was a good friend of mine that passed away many years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. He loved the bush more than anything in the world. And his favorite thing was to sit down and be with elephants. And to be honest, I don't think I'd be sitting in the seat right now if it wasn't for Michael, who was out there definitely watching over as I sit here with the Ellies. But he grew my fondness for the natural world. He grew my fondness for elephants. And so when I'm here, I often think about him and this beautiful wilderness. It's been such an incredible morning, everyone. I've had such a great time talking about the influence of Ellie's, talking about buffaloes and looking at trees, looking at spiders. I really have the most incredible job out here in the bush, and I'm very grateful that I get to show it to you all. And with that, I just want to say thank you very much to Jeandre on camera. He's been incredible. He's helping me with learning how to be around the camera and do all the good things out here in the bush. Kirsten and the ladies behind and the directors, thank you very much for your help. I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys, of course. And everyone else from the WildEarth team has been incredible. With that, we'll see you in a couple of hours for the afternoon safari, otherwise known as the sunset safari. Let's catch up with Brent and let him end his section, and we'll see you later.
So, what a beautiful morning it's been. And it's been a morning of a mixed bag in terms of weather, from cold to cloudy to sunny. But it looks like the sun is winning the competition at the moment. Bryan, what do you think? Are we going to have a sunny day or a partly cloudy day?
Tough to say.
Tough to say. Bryan is sitting on the fence, doesn't want to choose either yay or nay. I'm going to go with we're going to have a glorious sunny day, setting us up for a spectacular sunset safari. Definitely going to have to go back and check in on those Nkuhumas. But I think we should go quite late, just before darkness settles, and hopefully we might get them on the move, and even better, on the hunt. As I said, I think they're hungry enough that they might get moving a little bit earlier than they would if they had a big fat tummy. But I am very excited about getting out there and spending some time with those lions who I have not spent much time with the last little while. And I was coming here to really hope to find you an animal to show you before the end of the show, but there is nothing. So thanks for joining us, and don't forget, we're going to go look for those lions on the sunset safari. Bye-bye.